Joe here, and before we continue our playthrough series of the War for Turkish Liberation, we have to make some corrections. In the last turn, which was the winter of 1920, turn 4, there were 3 attacks on irregular forces in which I forgot to attempt to retreat the irregular forces, and in all 3 attacks, the irregular forces got wiped out. One of the attacks was an attack by Turkish nationalist forces on 2 Armenian irregular forces to the northwest of Sarıkamış. And the other 2 attacks were by Bolshevik forces against 2 irregular Georgian units manning the front lines to the east of Sujumi. Before resolving those attacks again, let's take a look at the irregular retreat before combat table. I think that the reason why I forgot to conduct these retreats is because you look at these units and they look so puny and weak that you assume that they don't have any other ability in the game. And this is their big ability of avoiding combat altogether. And if there's no modification on a 1 through 4, 66%, they have a chance of successfully retreating and canceling the attack, and only on a 5 or a 6, the attack goes forward. However, there are modifiers to the die roll. If the attackers have cavalry, there's a +1. If the attackers have an air unit supporting the attack, that's another +1. If it's a concentric attack, where the attackers are attacking from at least 2 opposite surrounding hexes. And there's a -1 if the irregular unit is in a mountain hex. So this is the big ability that these units have. And you may say, well, isn't that a little exaggerated, because you could man your whole line with these units and there's a pretty good chance they'll hold their ground. However, on the other hand here, during the replacement point phase, you can use replacement points to subvert these units. And it's very easy to do so. If you roll 1d6 and you roll 2 to 5, these units are destroyed. If you rolled a 6, they're saved. And if you roll a 1, the unit is flipped to its back side. That is, it is flipped to its other side. However, with Georgian units, there is no other side. They can only fight for the Georgians. But for example, with the Turkish nationalist unit, if you subvert the unit, as it has happened in the game, it becomes controlled by the imperialist player. Now, for some reason, the rules don't state what happens when you're trying to subvert one of these units, which cannot flip to the other side, and you roll a 1. And I think it's most logical to eliminate it under the caveat that he who can do more can do less. If a die roll of 1 flips a unit to the other side, in the cases of units that cannot flip, then you simply eliminate the unit, and that's what we will do. So these units are hard to get to fight in combat, but they're easy to destroy by other means, that is, by using resource points. So let's go and resolve now the 3 attacks, starting with the Turkish attacks on the Armenians. And here we see the Turkish forces, a total of 13 combat factors against 2 Armenian irregular units, and they are in mountains. So the Armenians will attempt to retreat before combat. Note that the Turks have cavalry units, so there will be a +1 die roll modifier. But there's going to be a -1 die roll modifier because the irregulars are in a mountainous hex. And there's no other modifiers that apply. So now we roll 1d6. And on a final result of 5 or 6, the attack will go through. Otherwise, the attack is canceled and the irregulars successfully retreated within the area. So we roll 1d6. And the result is a 1, and the irregulars successfully retreat and the attack is cancelled. So the Armenians hold the hex to the northwest of Sarakamish, which is important because the Turks only have two hexes from which to attack that important Armenian city. Now we go to the two Bolshevik attacks on Georgian irregulars. You have units in these two hexes from the Bolsheviks attacking this irregular unit in the mountains. So the applicable modifiers +1 because the Bolsheviks have cavalry, but -1 because the defending irregulars are in a mountain hex, so there's no modification, and we roll 1d6. This time the result is a 5, so the attack goes through. The irregulars are not able to retreat. And we go forward with the attack. We roll 1d6. The roll is a 5. The Georgians suffer 3 steps lost, and they only have 1. That effectively eliminates the defenders, and now the attacking Bolsheviks occupy the vacated hex. Now we go to the other attack. Here, 2 Bolshevik units, including 1 cavalry unit, attack another irregular unit, but this unit is not in the mountains. So the modifier here for retreat before combat is a +1 because the attackers have cavalry. We roll 1d6. The roll is a 4 modified to a 5, so the irregulars cannot retreat and they have to face the odds. And we roll 1d6. The roll is a 3. The Georgians suffered 2 step losses. And that eliminates the defending irregulars, and now the Bolsheviks reduce their infantry unit and occupy the vacated space. And that's how we start now, turn 5, the spring of 1921. And the Armenians still hold on the mountains. Now to the intro. Spring of 1921, the Armenians still hold a solid line in the mountains. The Greeks have started an offensive geared to capture Ankara in a few months. Meanwhile, the Georgian defenses have collapsed, and the fall of Sujumi or Tiflis is imminent. Much anticipation surrounds the fate of Wrangel's White Russian army near Constantinople. Will it join the imperialist forces or continue to sail to North Africa? The Turks, on the other hand, have shifted their forces eastward to face the Armenians, and they're just bidding for time. Mustafa Kemal, after a lackluster performance against the Greeks, now wishes to turn the tables in the Armenian front. Grand National Assembly. Mustafa Kemal and part of the Turkish parliament rebel against the authority of the Sultan and established the Grand National Assembly. So we place the Grand National Assembly marker on the general data track in the number 4 box and refer to the rules to determine the number of replacement points received based on the current level of its prestige. So finally, the Grand National Assembly event is in effect. The marker starts in the number 4 box, meaning that the prestige level of the Grand National Assembly is currently medium, but the replacement points for the Turks will increase now from 4 to 5. The loss of Turkish units and imperialist units will have an impact on whether the Grand National Assembly's prestige will increase or decrease. If it increases to 7, 8, or 9, its prestige is high and replacement points will increase to 6, and the Turks will have 1 column shift to the left in defense and 1 to the right in attack. However, if prestige is 3 or less, the prestige will be considered low and replacement points will be 3 per turn, and there will be a 1 column shift penalty in attack and also a 1 column shift penalty in defense. But for now, the prestige level is at 4 and the Turks will receive 5 replacement points. Now to the next event. And it's a no event result. And for this type of an event, I did this Turkish rice pudding Kasandibi card. But nothing happens. And we return the no event marker to the cup. And now to determine the fate of Wrangel's army. On a roll of 1 to 5, the White Army is withdrawn, but on a roll of 6, it reinforces the Greek army and operates as an ally of the Greeks. So we roll 1d6, and the roll is a 6. So the Russians, the White Russians, are in this war. And the imperialists, including the White Army, will be moving before the Turks, and the Turks have no units facing the Russians. Now the Turks purchase units with replacement points and place them on the map, and they have 5 replacement points. They purchase 4 irregular units and a reduced strength infantry division. The irregular units can be placed anywhere in Turkey. They are placed in the border with the international zone, and the understrength division is placed in Bursa. Now it's the Bolsheviks' turn to purchase units. They have 2 replacement points. They purchase 1 supply convoy, and it is placed 60 miles to the northeast of Sujumi. And the remaining replacement point will be used to try to subvert the Georgian militia manning the front lines facing the Bolshevik advance. On a 1 through 5, the Georgians will be eliminated. Only on a 6 will they survive. And the roll is a 1. And the militia is gone. Now the Georgians spend their single replacement point to purchase a unit of irregulars. If the Bolsheviks advance either on Sujumi, Batum, or Tiflis, the Georgians will surrender. So, irregulars appear at Batum. Now it's the Asaris' turn. They have 1 replacement point. They don't have any unit to be able to purchase with that replacement point, but they can use it to subvert any enemy unit anywhere on the map. And they will attempt to subvert the Turkish irregular forces that are deployed to the west of Zenguldak. And on a 6 only will no effect occur. On a 1, that unit will become a imperialist irregular unit. And a 2 through 5 will eliminate the unit. And the roll is a 6. No effect. Now it's the Armenians' turn, and because Erzurum is occupied by Turkish forces, they receive 5 replacement points. They only have 1 unit to purchase, which is the supply column. The column is placed at Yerevan. The remaining 4 replacement points will be used to try to subvert each of the irregular units that have been hurriedly deployed to create a front in the international zone. We roll 1d6, a 3, a 4, and a 6. So 3 of the 4 irregular units are eliminated. Now the Greeks receive 4 replacement points, and they purchase 4 supply columns. All 4 columns appear in Smyrna. First to move are the Georgians. Georgians are trying to survive one more turn. Their 2nd Reserve Division moves to join their brothers in the 1st for a last stand at Tiflis. Now it's the Armenians' turn. The Armenians move their recently arrived supply convoy from Yerevan to the mountains southeast of Sarıkamış. They move no further and are not conducting any attacks. Now to the Greek front, but first, Wrangel's Russian White Army breaks out from the international zone. The Russians capture the Turkish city of Eskişehir. The Greeks move 2 of their divisions to place them in position in the center of their line. The Greeks advanced their supply convoys. The Greeks launch a full assault on the 11th Kafkas Division in an attempt to isolate the Turkish units in Balıkesir and Bursa. It is a 2-to-1 attack, but with the supply convoy, it is now 3-to-1. In addition, the Greeks bring one of their air support units. The Turks decline using their sole air support unit, so we roll 1d6 on the air support table and add 1. The result is a 2 modified to a 3 recon. But there are no adjacent Greek units which are not adjacent to Turkish units, so the recon result has no effect. So we roll 1d6 on the 3-to-1 column. The result is a 3. The Greeks lose 1 step and the Turks 2 steps. The 11th Kafkas Infantry Division is eliminated. The Greeks eliminate one of their cavalry brigades and advance into the vacated Hex. Now the Greeks attack the 23rd Infantry Division. Original odds are 8-4 or 2-1, but because of the rough terrain, it's reduced to 1-1. However, the Greeks use one of their supply convoys to bring the odds back to 2-1 and use their air support marker. The Turks will not use theirs, so there's a +1 die roll modifier. The result is a 6. Air superiority. The Greeks receive 1 column shift to the right. The final odds are 3-1. We roll 1d6. The roll is a 2. Each side loses 1 step. So the Turks are reduced The Greeks eliminate another of their cavalry brigades, but they do not advance. Because the imperialists captured a Turkish city, Eskişehir, we roll 1d6, and if the result is a 1, 2, or 3, the imperialist player receives 1 point. 4, 5, or 6, no effect. The result is a 5, no effect. Now we roll for the effect of eliminated units. We roll 1d6 for the 11th Kafkas. On a 1, 2, or 3, the imperialists receive 1 point. And the roll is a 3. Now we roll 1 die for each of the Greek cavalry brigades eliminated. On a 4 to 6, the Turks will score 1 point. A 3 and a 1, no points. It's the Asaris' turn. The Asaris stay in their current defensive positions. Now it's the Turkish nationalists' turn to move and fight. Turks try to form a line to the north of Ankara. Their regular unit moves to Zonguldak. And from there, 30 more miles to the south in the direction of Ankara. Meanwhile, the Turks try to salvage what they can by retreating their 60th Division as well as their 9th Division into Afyon. And the 23rd forms the line to the south of Eskişehir. The Turkish divisions at Balıkesir and Bursa are left to their own devices, and they are unsupplied. No forces in the east can conduct strategic movement, since none are located in city hexes. The Turks need to capture a city or destroy some units in order to avoid that the prestige of the Grand National Assembly be reduced to a low level of 3. The Turks aim at attacking the 2 infantry brigades in Hex 1920, and they have to concentrate forces, but in the mountains you can only stack up to 2 units. So the Turks move their 3rd Cavalry Division as well as their 1st Cavalry Division. Now they launch their attack. The Turks have a total of 17 combat factors, the Armenians 4. So we start at 4 to 1, but because the attack is in mountains, it is reduced to 2 to 1. The Turks use their only supply convoy in the area to increase the attack to 3 to 1, but the Armenians also use a supply convoy to reduce the attack to 2 to 1. And now the Turks commit their air support marker. We roll 1d6 with a +1 die roll modifier. The roll is a 4 modified to a 5, and the Turks gain 1 column shift to the right. So the final odds are 3 to 1. We roll 1d6. The roll is a 6. The Armenians lose 3 steps. So both of their infantry brigades are eliminated. The Turks suffer no losses and advance into the vacated hex. Now we roll to see if the Turks gain any points that can affect the Grand National Assembly prestige level at the end of the turn. 4 through 6 will do. And both rolls are a 2, so no points are scored. The Turks have no more attacks to make. And now to the Bolsheviks' turn. The Bolsheviks can help the Turks if they finish off the Georgians once and for all now. They could launch an attack on Batum, but the irregulars there could try to retreat before combat, spoiling that attack. The Georgians have 7 defense factors in Tiflis. and 4 in Sujumi with French naval gunfire support. The Bolsheviks will go for an all-out assault at Sujumi. First, they move their 9th Cavalry Division and the recently arriving supply column. They also move their forces here in the mountains, as well as the 9th Army moves here to the southeast of Sujumi. And they bring their 50th Division here to the east of Sujumi. Meanwhile, the remaining Bolshevik units will try to cordon off the Georgian units at Tiflis just in case the attack on Sujumi fails. Now to the battle for Sujumi. The Bolsheviks have a total of 16 attack factors, the Georgians 4. So we start at 4-1, but because of rough terrain, that is reduced to 3-1. And because of French naval gunfire, the odds are further reduced to 2-1. However, the Bolsheviks used their supply column to increase the odds to 3-1 and will use their air support marker. We roll on the air support table with a +1 die roll modifier because the Bolshevik air support marker is unopposed. The result is a 6 modified to a 7 air superiority, and the Bolsheviks obtain 1 column shift to the right. Final odds are 5-1, and we roll 1d6. The roll is a 3, and the Georgians suffer 2 step losses, and that will eliminate both units. The Bolsheviks reduce one of their cavalry units, and they finally occupy Sujumi, and the Georgians surrender. And the remaining Georgian forces in Batum and Tiflis are eliminated, and the French naval gunfire support is gone. Now, because the imperialists have more points than the nationalists, the Grand National Assembly prestige level is reduced by 1. And now it's at a low level. The Turks will receive 3 replacement points and will be penalized with a 1 column shift to the left when attacking and to the right when defending. Things are looking grim for the Turks. They have not been able to break through on the Armenian front, and the entry of the Russian White Army has collapsed their defenses in the Greek front. The Bolsheviks have finally defeated the Georgians and are now marching south to help their Turkish allies against the Armenians. Now we move on to the summer of 1921. Will the Turks be able to turn the tide against the Armenians and establish a solid line in its front with the Greeks and the Russians? Stick around for the next episode of The War for Turkish Liberation. This is Stuka Joe signing off for now. Thanks for watching.